Okay, so I just saw Blade Runner 2049. I got out about 15 or so minutes ago. This is an almost 3 hour long movie, so if you do see it, be prepared for a lot. Basically, the kind of story going into this is replicants were banned for a long time because of all the rebellions and everything. If you know anything about the future, it's a world where there are replicants that do a lot of the menial labor. They're like humans, except they only have short lifespans and they're not created biologically. They were originally created primarily by the Tyrell Corporation. Tyrell dies in the first Blade Runner, and going into this one, a new company called Wallace Company, that's Wallace is Jared Leto, takes things over, and they create better, supposedly more docile replicants, though some still some still rebel from time to time. And they're also longer lasting. I thought this would be an excuse for Harrison Ford's character of Deckard to be a replicant, but they don't really address that, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on. Anyway, Ryan Gosling's character is named Constant K, and he's a Blade Runner who hunts down. He's a replicant that hunts down replicants, basically. And he's inspecting a supposed farmer named Morton, played by Dave Bautista, very briefly. They get into a fight. Gosling kills Bautista. And as he's inspecting the farm, he notices first, briefly, a flower growing out of the ground. And then he notices this tree, and he notices there's something with this tree, and he does an underground scan, and they find this box. And it turns out that the box contains the remains of Rachel, who was the Sean Young replicant character from the first Blade Runner. But the rub is Rachel died in childbirth, which means there's a replicant that had a baby. And the police are this secret can't get out because everything will go mad. But it turns out Wallace is kind of hip as to what's going on, especially since Kay brings the remains to the Wallace Corporation to kind of do some back scanning and see if there's anything else they can turn up on it. But Wallace manages to piece together that, yes, there was a replicant that bore a child, and he needs those replicants because he cannot make enough replicants to meet the demand. There's not enough supply and demand for them. I mean, there's too much demand for the supply, and he can't supply enough to meet the demand. That's what I mean. And from there, we go searching for this replicant. At this point, Wallace kind of vanishes. He has a sort of chief officer who's also a replicant. I didn't get her name. I think in the credits they said her name was Coco. I may be wrong on that, but anyway, sort of, and the police task Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, to basically track down this replicant child and kill it. As Kay is going through his investigation, he starts finding these things. He finds the date of June 10th, 2021, carved into a tree, and it's a date that triggers a memory in him. And he doesn't know if this was an implanted. He's sure this was an implanted memory, but it was a memory of him hiding a favorite toy, a wooden horse, with the date of June 10th, 2021, stamped into its bottom hoof. And so he sort of hides that fact from the police, and he doesn't actually go on to explain it too much. And kind of throughout the movie, Kay has this holographic companion. Basically, it's like a holographic girlfriend / wife. He has a special emitter that allows it for a bit more physical contact than you do. Anyway, she starts to kind of piece together, like, do you think that you could actually be this child? He does some further investigating. He manages to track down this orphanage that he remembers in his memory. And as he's investigating there, he finds the wooden horse. and he starts flipping out because he means, oh my God, I probably am this child. And he goes to visit a memory manufacturer who confirms that the memory he has is not artificially constructed. It came from somewhere. And so he kind of operates from that point on that he is the replicant child, basically. He goes back to the police and he starts lying, which is something the replicants aren't supposed to be able to do, and they know that he's malfunctioning. They've detected the anomalies, so they know that something's going on with him. And so basically they suspend him, and he winds up going on the run. At the time this has happened, the Wallace Corporation has also pieced together a bit of what's going on. They don't know that he's not the replicant, but they start tracking him as well. And Gosling basically uses the horse to track down the location from where it came from, and it's in Las Vegas, which is for a long time a highly radioactive area where a dirty bomb had been set off. It's there that he finds Deckard, and he's talking with Deckard a little bit, and Deckard basically says, I left before the child was born. I knew that if Rachel and I were together, that we would just be tracked, and that's no life for a child, that we had to basically give the child up to keep her safe. Oops, that has a minor spoiler there, but I'll get to that. Keep the child safe. And through this all, like I said, the Wallace Corporation has been tracking them down. They eventually get attacked. Deckard is taken into custody. Kay is left behind, but it turns out there's this kind of replicant resistance movement. And there were replicants who, at one point or another, basically saw Rachel give birth, or knew that Rachel was pregnant and gave birth. And they say they witnessed a miracle. And that's what kind of caused them to start to go rogue. The witnessed a miracle comes from earlier in the movie, during the confrontation with Morton, Dave Bautista's character. And he said, you know, that's us replicants, apart from you modern types, you know, I've witnessed a miracle. I know what, you know, the true special part of life is. And it's this point it's revealed that the child was actually a girl. It is not Kay. It's not Ryan Gosling. Everybody's like, but I have the memory, and the manufacturer said the memory was real. It wasn't artificially implanted. And that's what he pieces together. The reason why she knew it wasn't a artificial memory is because it was her memory. The memory manufacturer is actually the replicant child. Basically, the way this was disguised was when the child was dropped off at the orphanage, they took DNA from a deceased. They said that this girl child had died, but they took the DNA sequence, the memory manufacturer's DNA sequence, and transplanted it onto the replicant K, basically, so that they said, again, to set up the misdirect. And eventually, the leader of the replicant resistance tells Kay that, you know, you have to kill Deckard. Wallace can use Deckard to basically track down where this child is located. You know, if we're going to be free, if replicants are going to be treated as a society, you know, as actual human beings, basically, not as the slaves that we've been treated, Wallace cannot have the ability to breed replicants. He can only build them. And basically this does lead to a final confrontation. Kay manages to track down Wallace as they're taking Deckard off Earth. He shoots down these crafts. He has a fight with, again, I think her name was Coco. As this is happening, Deckard's craft gets sucked out because it's in the middle of the storm. It gets sucked out into the ocean and starts sinking. And then Gosling basically gets mortally wounded, but he fights back. He kills Coco, and he frees Deckard, and he basically says, look, they're just going to think that you're dead. We're going to keep you on the down low. I'm going to take you to visit your daughter. And he does. and Deckard goes in, and he meets up. He doesn't say anything just yet. He basically just puts his hand up to the glass, and then on the outside, Kay basically dies, and that's the film. Yeah, I know I got a little blow by blow there, but unfortunately, you kind of have to get blow by blow with a movie like this. If you know anything about Blade Runner, it's sorry. If you know anything, if you remember anything about the original Blade Runner, is a very cerebral movie. It's a movie you have to be in like the right mind frame to see, no matter which of the cuts. I think whether it's the original one with the Harrison Ford monologue that nobody apparently likes. Excuse me. Like I said, I think you have to be in the right mindset to watch Blade Runner. I hesitate to use the term maturity, but I think that would actually be the right term. You have to be of a certain maturity, intellectual maturity even, to really grasp it and to get a lot of the concepts. I mean, if you just go in expecting, a straightforward, rollicking sci-fi adventure, it's just not quite that. It's more of a mood, think piece type film. And I think this very much tries to replicate it. It is very moody and think piecey. And it's good at doing that. The one drawback I would say is I think the Wallace is underutilized. I mean, Jared Leto he's passable in the movie. He's not as goofily over the top as he was in, say, like Suicide Squad or some of the other things he's been doing. But there's just not really enough of him. I would have kind of liked to revisit him at least a few more times. There's just a lot of Coco sort of planning things and moving in the background and doing things, and it's like tracking Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, and yeah, it's just I didn't think like Wallace was menacing enough the way Roy Batty and the Tyrell Corporation were kind of menacing in the original Blade Runner. Also, if you're going to this movie to see Harrison Ford, you've got a pretty long wait. It's about 2 hours into the film, I think, before he pops up. And even then, he's really only in it for, let's say, about 15 minutes. Deckard being a replicant, there's a point where Wallace is trying to extract information from Deckard, and he's able to somewhat recreate the Sean Young, Rachel. And it's basically a de-aged CGI Sean Young, even though they credit Sean Young in the film. But she comes out, and except she has the wrong eye color. But he sort of points out that like Tyrell knew that Rachel was capable of breeding, and that he was arranging for Deckard and Rachel to meet up. Now, again, it seems to imply that like, don't you think that you were, he says, don't you think that you were constructed for this purpose too? That you had this purpose, this point? And Deckard says, I know it's real. So, again, I don't know if it's meant to really confirm that Deckard is a replicant, or if they were just trying to really leave it intentionally vague. Or at least that's how I saw it. Maybe someone else will think that it's a confirmation. So, where was I? Again, part of the... Sorry, I guess I lost my train of thought there. I guess, like I said, it's not... I don't know, in my interpretation, it was not readily confirmed that Deckard was a replicant. Even though Ridley Scott, and I think there's a constant thought out there that Deckard's a replicant. But like I said, to me, I think it just came across as still being pretty vague. Anyway, overall thoughts. Really good performances of this. Gosling is good. Some of the other actresses in this. Robin Wright is good as kind of the chief inspector of the LAPD. Leto is not horrible. But again, I'd say underutilized a little bit. Really good set direction throughout this. Good art direction from Denis Villeneuve and everything. That was done. It was really solid in that aspect. My only thing is, like I said, the villains I thought were a little underutilized, and it really does kind of drag in a few spots. Like, there's some points where I think it really could have been compressed a little bit. There's a lot of, for example, when Kay arrives in Las Vegas, he gets out of his craft, and he walks, and he walks, and he walks, and he walks, and then he finds a hotel, and then he walks through the hotel, and then he meets up with Deckard. It's like, that goes just a little too long. It's like, you could have maybe trimmed that down just a little bit and kept the pacing up a little bit better. And that's why I'm going to give Blade Runner 2049 a B. Okay, trailer time, and kind of a weird variety of trailers we were getting here. A lot of this stuff is coming out pretty recently. The first trailer is for The Snowman. It's kind of a serial killer mystery thing. I know it's based on a big novel. They call him the Snowman Killer, and he butchers his corpses, and I think in one case he actually uses a severed woman's head as the top part of a snowman. After that we have Only the Brave, which is a movie about wildfire fighters, basically people who fight wildfires, and how this was based on true events and how they protected a town. One noteworthy thing: this was it's a PG-13 movie. Was a Green Band trailer, so normally you don't get a lot of swearing and stuff like that. But I never thought I'd hear shit be used in a Green Band trailer. Even like I said, it's a PG-13 movie. Excuse me. So there could be some swearing in it, but they usually don't put the swearing in the trailer. After that, we have The Foreigner, which is the Jackie Chan, Pierce Brosnan movie. Jackie Chan is looking for the person who killed the bombers who killed his family. Let's see. After that, we have Geostorm. Oh, oh, Geostorm. Oh dear. If for people who thought The Day After Tomorrow was just a little too thought heavy. Satellite that controls the weather. And this thing was made in like, what was it? 2000. I want to say 2011. It was made a while ago. It's been on the shelf for years, and it's just now coming out. Yeah, that might be a future, like, maybe wait until Riff Tracks does a commentary of it type movie. After that, we have Jigsaw, and then we have Thor Ragnarok again. Yep. Let's see, next video, it's going to be the Hell in a Cell recap and review. That'll be out Monday. Like I said, I'm going to try to see if I can see My Little Pony on Tuesday. The review video for that might be up either late Tuesday or Wednesday morning. And then after that will be the Hawkman random trade review. See you all then. Hey guys, just a reminder, I am on Patreon now at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions. There's a reward tier where you can request for me to review a movie. So if you want to force me to see something like the Emoji Movie, here's your chance.